When it comes to suffering and the dis-ease that we experience in our life, in all of its various forms, whether it's depression, anxiety, fear, worry, regret, and so on. For most of us, the default response to it is to try to run away from it and to hide it, to bury it with other experiences, certainly not to turn and look at it and investigate it. But the problem is that when we try to run from these things, when we try to distract ourselves from our pain, the pain not only doesn't go away, it inevitably gets worse, just like a wound. That if we don't treat the wound and we simply put a plaster or a band-aid on it, it doesn't heal. It just festers and gets worse. And it's the same with our problems and our sufferings, that when we try to distract ourselves, however that, in whatever way that may be, with eternal scrolling on Facebook or shopping, spending all your money, working all of the time, many different things, alcohol and drugs, of course. When we sort of place these experiences over the wound to cover up that wound, we're not healing it. We're not solving the problem. We're simply delaying looking at it while it gets worse. And this is just the habit that the mind has, which is to run from suffering. Ajahn Chah, who, the great Thai forest monk, in his typically straightforward fashion, said that the person who runs away from suffering is the stupidest person of all. Well, I think that probably includes the vast majority of us, and it would have been himself at one point too. So really, the only thing to do, the best thing to do, if we really want to solve that problem, is to just turn and actually look at it. Using our mindfulness to simply start to pay attention to that problem. And sometimes we will find that actually the issue, the problem, is not as bad as we thought. It's not as painful as we thought. It was simply our aversion to it which built it up into something much bigger than it really is. I can remember a dream that I had. I was swimming in the ocean, and this massive tidal wave came up. It must have been about 5 floors high, and it was terrifying. This wall of water coming towards me, and there was nothing I could do. I couldn't swim away from it. I couldn't escape it. So I simply had to let it come over me. This huge wall of water. And it approached, and it began to come over me. And as it came over me, I realised that it was only a couple of inches thick, like this thin sheet of water which looked so frightening, so big, so imposing, with so much substance, so much weight. But actually, there was really nothing to it. And it just washed over me. And it passed. And I think this is actually, we can be surprised that when we start to pay attention to the suffering that we're feeling, these feelings that we have, when we really start to pay attention to them, sometimes we see that they are just like that sheet of water. They may appear to be this tsunami, but when we start to actually really pay attention to them, we see that there's not a lot there. So one of the main ways in which we begin to pay attention to our suffering is through sensing it in the body. So we're seeing that suffering, that problem, in terms of feeling and sensation now, here and now. So the suffering, the problem, we may have a story around it. It may concern work, it may concern family, it may concern our past, it may concern the future. And we might have all of these elaborate stories, quite legitimate stories around it. It may be concerning past traumas. But when it comes to actually investigating that suffering here and now, we're paying attention to the raw materials of this experience, and particularly in terms of how it's affecting the body, what we're feeling, the sensations we're experiencing connected to that. So we try to disconnect the story and pay attention simply to the feelings, the sensations that we are experiencing now, because these are really the crux of the problem. It's the sensations, it's the feelings in the body that we are trying to escape. It's not the thoughts. Sometimes we think the thoughts are the problem, but it's how those thoughts are making us feel in the body. And it's the sensations that, the butterflies in the stomach, the heaviness in the chest, the tension in the shoulders, the sense of tightness in the back, the numbness in the legs, all of these sensations that we experience. It's these that we essentially are trying to run from when we distract ourselves. And so it's these sensations that we turn towards to investigate and understand and see clearly. So we use mindfulness of the body. Mindfulness of the body is one of the key teachings given by the Buddha, and it's one of the, when we practice meditation, we use the breath, we use various techniques, many of which center on the body, mindfulness of the body. And so if we have these skills, we develop the skills to be able to focus on the body, then we use these skills to investigate these uncomfortable physical sensations. And sometimes I think it's really important as well to combine mindfulness of the body and mindfulness of sensation and feeling with loving kindness and with compassion, to develop this ability to gently hold in your awareness these feelings, these sensations, these parts of your body where you feel the pain. Maybe it's in your heart. You feel some trouble in your heart. Again, you don't need to know the story. The story may arise. Maybe you have some this dis-ease in your heart. You don't quite know why, and that's okay. Just meet that dis-ease, that discomfort with mindfulness and with love and with compassion, and hold it like a mother is holding her troubled child. The mother doesn't if the child's troubled, the mother doesn't go and lock it in a room and go off distracting herself. The mother will go to that child and hold it and comfort it until that child's pain and dis-ease just calms and melts away. And so we can use our awareness and our loving kindness to hold these uncomfortable, difficult sensations that we feel in the body. And it can be helpful to use words to try to describe the feelings that we have in the body, the sensations. This will help us to develop a more objective attitude. So instead of being sort of stuck in that feeling, we're trying to step away from it, not in a cold, disinterested way, but just trying to be more neutral towards it, because it's that which will allow us to see the feeling and sensation for what it is. So you can use words like heaviness or tightness, tingling, tickling, numbness, various ways to just help you to pay attention. And when we do pay attention, then different things can happen. A story may unfold. You may realize the source of this discomfort, and it may be nothing. It may be something you didn't even know was there. But ultimately, we will see that these feelings, these sensations they're transient. They're not as real and as solid as you thought they were. Just like that tidal wave in my dream, it wasn't what it appeared to be. And so these difficult sensations that we often experience, when we really look at them and give them space without reacting, without fighting them, without trying to run from them, without trying to suppress them, when we just allow them, then we see that they're often not what we thought they were. And we also notice that it's actually not that feeling or that sensation which is the problem. It's our resistance towards it. It's our aversion. It's the very act of wanting to run away that is the problem, not that experience itself. So these are important skills to develop, and it takes some training to be able to focus in this way, and that's where just having a disciplined meditation practice comes in, a disciplined practice of mindfulness, really learning to train the mind to be with the body, training the mind to be with the breath, to be with your movements. Mindfulness of the body is such a powerful and important practice, and it's really at the heart of this development. And I'd like to, I'll have a lot more to say about developing mindfulness of the body in the future. So I'll just leave it at that for now.